This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so let's start our class. Now we are in chapter 3, human reproduction. We have learned about gametogenesis, fertilization, gametogenesis and structure of male gamete. Everything we have learned in last class. So today we are moving to the last portion. Okay, last portion of our third chapter. So we are moving to fertilization and implantation. So, we have learned the structure and all, right? How male gamete is getting produced, how female gamete is getting formed, all these things we have learned. So now we are learning about fertilization, how it is getting fertilized and how it is forming a zygote and how that zygote is developing. It is getting developed into an embryo. That's what we are going to learn in this class. So in fertilization and implantation, first the male and female gametes should meet, right? So during copulation, that semen, it is released by the penis. Penis will release the semen and that will reach the vagina, right? So the semen released by the penis that will reach to the vagina, and the sperm, male gamete, which is motile, that can swim fast or that can move fast, and that will pass through the cervix. You can see here through cervix, when from penis that semen is released or ejected, that male gamete, which is motile, that will move through the cervix and it will enter to the uterus, right? From the cervix it will reach to the uterus, and from there it will move towards the fallopian tube, and it will reach the ampulla. Ampulla we have learned, right? That ampulla, isthmus, ampulla and all we have learned this portion. So the wider portion, it will move to that space, and there the fertilization is taking place. Okay, so you should note down, don't by mistake don't write that where fertilization is taking place. They'll give several options for NEET exam, so don't write it's not in uterus, it's not in vagina, it's taking place in the fallopian tube. There the fertilization is taking place. From here, when the semen which is ejected by the or the released by the penis, it will reach vagina, and from vagina, from that semen, that motile sperm, it will move to the uterus, and from uterus it will move to the fallopian tube. Okay, so that motile sperm, it will move towards the fallopian tube, and in fallopian tube, which region it will choose? It will choose the ampullary region of the fallopian tube. That is the space where that fertilization is taking place. Okay, so during copulation, the semen which is released by the penis into vagina, and that motile sperm will swim very fast, and it will reach uterus. It will cross the cervix and it will reach the uterus, and finally that will reach the ampullary region of the fallopian tube. Which region? Ampullary region, not the uterus or not the vagina. It will reach the ampullary region. There the fertilization is taking place. So fallopian tube, because ovum, it is ejected from this ovary. So this is the place, fallopian tube is the place where the ovum and sperm is meeting. That is the meeting place. Okay, so here you can see. Next is okay. Then ovum. Now semen reached the fallopian tube, right? So the same time here you can see this is the ovary and the ovum. Ovum released by the ovary, that also will move towards the ampulla or towards the ampullary region of the fallopian tube. Okay, so the ovum which is released by the ovary, that also will move towards the ampullary region of the fallopian tube, and in that region, see here you can see that very clearly, in that region this fertilization is occurring. Okay, because male sperm, that sperm will reach through this fallopian tube, it will move and it will reach the ampulla, the wider part, and from this ovum, the ovum, so the ovary, from this ovary, that ovum is also getting released and that is also moving towards the ampulla. Okay, the ampullary region, and in this region the fertilization is taking place. And the fertilization, only once this fertilization is occurring. Okay, so fertilization can occur only once because the ovum and sperm both are transported at a time, or there is a simultaneous transport. See, we have told in the case of plants, there is a simultaneous release. There should be a synchrony while releasing the pollen and the receptivity of the stigma. So in the same way here, when the ovum is releasing at the same time, or that there will be a particular timing, in that time only that male gamete also should be present. Otherwise, the fertilization won't take place, right? So the fertilization can occur only if that ovum and sperm both are transported simultaneously. Both should reach the ampullary region simultaneously. Then only that will end in a fertilization, right? So there should be a synchrony in the release of ovary and the transport of this male gamete. Okay, so that is the reason. That's the main reason. That's why all copulation is not leading to fertilization. Okay, fertilization is between one ovum and one sperm. Okay, so that happens only once. If after that male gamete reaching also, they are already fertilization over because only one ovum is getting released. Sperms will be many, but ovum, only ovary is releasing only one ovum. That we have learned during that in the last class we learned about menstrual cycle. In that I have told when that ovum is getting released and what is the fertilization period, right? So during that period when that ovum is getting released, in that time, that fertilization period or fertile time, in that time is this if the male gamete is reaching into that region, then only it will lead to a fertilization. Otherwise, there won't be any kind of fertilization. Okay, so the ovum released by the ovary, that it is also transported to the ampullary region. Here you can see the ovary, it is releasing an ovum that is also moving towards the ampullary region. At the same time, that male gamete or sperm which is released, and from that which is released into that vagina, and from that motile sperm will move towards the fallopian tube, and the sperm also will be reaching in the ampullary region, right? So this male gamete and female gamete both are meeting at the ampullary region of the fallopian tube. Okay, so the fertilization can occur only if the ovum and sperm both are transported simultaneously. To where? To which region? To the ampullary region. If both are present at the ampullary region at the same time or in a simultaneous way, both are reaching at the ampullary region, then only it will result in a fertilization. Okay, so that's why there is the copulation. All copulation are not leading to fertilization. Okay, when that ovum and sperm both are reaching simultaneously, that copulation is only leading to a successful fertilization. Otherwise, there won't be fertilization. Okay. So the ovum released by the ovary is also transported to the ampullary region. Here the ovum is also transported to the ampullary region, and in this region that fertilization is taking place. Here you can see we have marked as fertilization. So this is the region of fertilization. Here the ovum, it is surrounded by male gametes. You can see here and tail-like structure, that those are the male gametes. So that male gamete and female gamete both are meeting at the fallopian tube in the ampullary region of the fallopian tube. Okay. So in this region, fertilization is taking place. So that is the correct option, ampulla of fallopian tube. There the fertilization is taking place. So fertilization can occur only if the ovum and sperm both are transported simultaneously and both should be present at the ampulla. Okay, so that is the reason why not all copulation lead to fertilization and pregnancy. So all fertilization is not all copulation, it is not leading to fertilization and pregnancy because there won't be any synchrony in that. That release of ovum and transport of sperm both should be at same time. Then only it will lead to a fertilization. Okay. Next, what is fertilization? What is fertilization? The process of fusion of a sperm and egg. That is called as the fertilization, right? The process of fusion of a sperm and egg or ovum. That is called as fertilization. For fusion of a male and female gamete, and it will form a zygote. That is called as fertilization. So during this fertilization, a sperm, here you can see the sperm, that will come in contact with the, which layer is this? The outer layer, zona pellucida layer of the ovum, right? We have learned about the structure of ovum and structure of sperm also. In ovum, the layer, zona pellucida, that layer of the ovum, that sperm will come in contact with the zona pellucida layer, right? So this brings some kind of changes in that membrane, and then that membrane blocks the entry of additional sperms. When a sperm is coming in contact with the zona pellucida layer, that makes some kind of changes in that layer. Okay, so that no other sperm will come in contact with the ovum. Like that, some kind of changes will happen in that zona pellucida layer. This is the zona pellucida layer you can see here. So when one sperm is coming and contacting this layer, like that is reaching the zona pellucida layer, that zona pellucida layer makes some kind of changes so that no other sperm will enter again, because there only one sperm and one egg, both are fertilized, fusing together and forming a zygote. So during fertilization, a sperm comes in contact with the zona pellucida layer of the ovum. Note down MCQ, zona pellucida layer. Okay, this is important MCQ, zona pellucida layer. Don't give wrong options, like don't answer like some other layer, it is directly entering to the sperm. There is a layer, zona pellucida layer, it is coming in contact with the zona pellucida layer, so that there will be some kind of changes, so that blocks the entry of other sperms. Then that ensures, this changes will ensure there is only the entry of one sperm. That makes sure that only one sperm is entering into the ovum for fertilization. Okay, so the process of fusion of a sperm with an ovum, that is called as fertilization. What is fertilization? Fusion of male and female gamete. Fusion of a sperm with an ovum, that is called as fertilization. So during fertilization, a sperm comes in contact with the zona pellucida layer. Here you can see this sperm came here and that came in contact with the zona pellucida layer. This is the zona pellucida layer. So sperm came into that layer, and this makes some kind of changes in that membrane. So this brings about some kind of changes, and that makes so that that membrane blocks the entry of additional sperms, so that the changes makes a condition that no other sperm will enter to that ovum. Okay, that ensures that only one sperm can fertilize an ovum. Got it? So there will be a fertilization means one egg and one sperm. The fusion of one egg and one sperm. That is called as fusion, fertilization. Okay, that fusion, that is called as fertilization. Here, many sperms, I told release of one ovum and release of many sperms. Okay, but among that, only one sperm is getting fused with the ovum. So, which layer makes that? Zona pellucida. When a sperm is come in contact with the zona pellucida layer, there some kind of membrane, some kind of changes that brings in that membrane structurally and functionally. That makes or that ensures that only one sperm can fertilize with the ovum. Okay. So that secretion of the acrosome. Acrosome, the cap-like structure, you can see here that acrosome, a cap-like structure in the sperm, in the head portion of the sperm, a cap-like structure is there. That is called as acrosome. That is full of enzymes. Okay. So the secretions of that acrosome that help the sperm to enter into the cytoplasm of ovum, because here nuclear fusion should take place, so that that sperm should enter inside the ovum. Okay, inside the cytoplasm. So the secretion of the acrosome that will help the sperm to enter into the cytoplasm of ovum through that zona pellucida layer and plasma membrane. Okay, acrosome. Acrosome is the cap-like structure of the sperm, and that is filled with enzymes. These secretions or these enzymes helps the sperm to enter into the ovum. These secretions are helping the sperm to enter into the cytoplasm of ovum, cytoplasm of the ovum, and through which layer it is entering? Through zona pellucida layer, and next the plasma membrane, so that it is reaching the cytoplasm of the ovum. It crosses zona pellucida layer and the plasma membrane, and it is reaching in the cytoplasm of the ovum. Okay, and this induces the completion of the meiotic division. Completion of the meiotic division. Meiotic division of what? Meiotic division of the secondary oocyte. Okay, primary oocyte formation is there. Then secondary oocyte will form, that we have already learned. So that secondary oocyte, the completion of this division of secondary oocyte, that is a meiotic division. So this induces the completion of the meiotic division of the secondary oocyte. Their meiotic division is taking place, right? In second one, chromosome number is getting reduced. Okay, and the second meiotic division, that is also like primary division. The second meiotic division, that is also an unequal division, right? And that also forms the second polar body. Their first polar body will form, and in the second meiotic division, it is also an unequal division, and this unequal division that results in the formation of second polar body. Okay, second polar body means it's a small one and a haploid ovum. Here meiotic division, so the next producing cell is ovum, and that ovum is, it's a female gamete, right? So that female gamete should be haploid, so that fusion of male and female gamete will make a diploid zygote. So the second meiotic division, this is unequal division. Second meiotic division is also an unequal division, and this results in the formation of second polar body and ovum. Ovum is haploid. Okay, ovum, or otherwise it is called as ooted. Okay, So the second polar body and ovum is formed in the second meiotic division. The second meiotic division is also unequal, and that forms the second polar body and ovum. That ovum which is formed is haploid. It is having single set of chromosome or n number of chromosomes. And the haploid nucleus of the sperm. The sperm is having a nucleus, right? That is also carrying single set of chromosomes from the male, or that is a male gamete. So that both will fuse together and that forms a diploid zygote. Okay. So the zona pellucida layer, when a male gamete or sperm is having a cap-like structure which is called as acrosome. That acrosome is filled with enzymes. Okay, you should remember this like a story. From the starting, male gamete is releasing, female gamete is releasing, both. The structure of both, then how it is getting fused, how fertilization is taking place, how that embryo is forming, how it is getting developed, all this. It is a series of events. Okay, so you should remember in that way, one after the other, with diagrams. Okay, with the help of diagrams, you can learn very easily. This one, you can learn it very fast. See, just remember this picture, that male gamete, it is reaching and it is touching the zona pellucida layer. And that male gamete is having a cap-like structure called acrosome. That acrosome is filled with enzymes, different kind of enzymes. And the secretion of that enzyme or the secretion of that acrosome, that helps the male gamete to reach inside. See, when the male gamete is touching the zona pellucida layer, that membrane makes some kind of changes so that only one male gamete is entering. So that which male gamete is touching that layer, that male gamete acrosome will work. Secretion of that acrosome, male gamete acrosome, will help that male gamete to move towards the cytoplasm of the ovum. See here, this one is touching the zona pellucida layer. So their acrosome will produce some kind of secretions like enzymes and all, so that this male gamete can move towards the cytoplasmic region of the ovum. Okay, it crosses the zona pellucida layer, and after that it crosses the plasma membrane, and then it is reaching inside the cytoplasm of ovum. Okay, and this, after reaching this will induce the completion of that meiotic division of secondary oocyte. Meiotic division, that is a meiotic division, secondary meiotic division or second meiotic division, that is also unequal division. Like first division, this is also unequal division, and that forms the second polar body. Second polar body, it's small one, and again the haploid ovum. Another one more cell will get produced, right? That produced cell is the ovum, and that ovum is a haploid cell or haploid female gamete. Haploid means it is having only one set of chromosome. So here the ovum is the female gamete that is having one set of female chromosomes, or that is a female gamete with one set of chromosomes, and here male gamete that is also carrying one set of chromosome from the male parent, right? So the haploid nucleus of the sperm and haploid nucleus of ovum both fuses together and it forms a zygote which is diploid. Now in the zygote, which is in diploid condition, one set of chromosomes from male parent and one set of chromosomes from female parent. Okay. And next, see, now fertilization over, right? Fertilization happened. And in this fertilization, you can see here, this father, at which stage the fertilization means, in that stage itself, the sex of a baby, we can make sure that the baby is, or that is the stage in which we can clearly say that the baby is a male or a female, right? Because after fertilization, there won't be any change in the chromosome, right? First fertilization happened, one set from male parent and one set from female parent. So after that, no one is going to change the chromosome. The same set will be developing. So the chromosome pattern, you can see in the female, the chromosome pattern is XX. Okay. And in male, you can see the chromosome pattern XY. Okay. So haploid, all the haploid gamete produced by the female, that will be having the female sex chromosome, that is X. Here, females having only one pattern. Okay. XX. In ova, you can see XX chromosome. In ova, only XX chromosome will be there. The female sex chromosome X. Okay. But in the case of male gametes, that means in the case of father, that sperm, it is having X, and you can see the pattern of male gametes. You can see chromosome, either it will be having X or Y. Okay. Here that male can produce gamete X with X or Y. Female can produce gametes only X and another. Here, however the division is happening also, there will be only X chromosome in the case of female. But in the case of male, it depends upon the division. Male is having X chromosome and Y chromosome, right? This Y chromosomes makes the male condition, right? So here the male can produce gametes with X or Y. This depends on the division and which male gamete is moving towards the ovum. Okay, so we can't say that the gamete which is coming for fertilization, that is with X or Y. Okay, so the 50% of that sperm that carries X chromosome. Okay, only this is a 50-50 chance. Okay, 50% will carry X chromosome and 50% will carry Y chromosome in the case of male. But in the case of mother or female parent, there will be only one kind of gametes, that's with X chromosome. So there is no confusion in that. But in the case of father, they will produce gamete with X or gamete with Y. So after fusion of the male and female gamete, the zygote will carry either XX or XY. So here you can see male parent can produce gamete with X or Y. But in the case of a mother, that will produce only one kind of gamete, that's with X. Okay. Here, see, from male, if this gamete is coming, the first gamete is coming with X chromosome. And from female, definitely you will get the gamete with X chromosome only, right? So this X and female X both are fusing and it is forming again a XX condition. That means again it's a female, right? And here the second gamete also, here that is also fusing with the first X gamete from the male. Again, it is a 50% will be with female. But here in the second case, you can see here from the male, if it is producing the gamete with Y chromosome, or the fusion is taking place between the gamete with Y chromosome and the female gamete with same X chromosome, you will get a condition of XY. That means male. So here 50% for female and 50% for male. Both chances are there. Okay. So there is no changes in the condition of mother's gamete or the female gamete. The changes comes from the male gamete. Male gametes decides whether the baby is a male or female. Okay. The zygote formed is a male or a female. Okay. So after fusion of the male and female gamete, the zygote will carry either XX or XY. It depends upon the sperm. If the sperm is carrying X chromosome, X and X will fuse together and it will form a female. If it is with that male gamete is with Y chromosome, then it will become an XY condition and that forms a male. And the zygote carrying XX would develop into a female, and zygote which is carrying X and Y sets of chromosome, that will develop into a male. So ultimately what I want to say is the sex of the baby, it is determined by the father scientifically. This is the scientific reason. See, usually you can see in our society so many issues are there. If they are getting girl baby, there is so many problems, right? In news itself, you can read so many things like that. So there comes here, this is the scientific reason behind the sex determination of baby. Okay, so the sex of the baby is determined by the father, not by the mother, because mother will only produce X chromosome. There is no changes in the gamete also. If the mother's body is having X, not if, definitely the mother's body will produce a chromosome, sorry, mother's body is having a set of chromosome, X chromosome. So that same thing will be repeated in the gametes also, female gametes. But in the case of father or the male parent, that is having X and Y chromosomes. So based on the division taking place and the fusion, if it is fusing with the gamete with X chromosome, with the female gamete with the X chromosome, it will form both X will fuse and it will form a female baby. And if it is fusing with the Y from the male and X from the female, that forms a male. X and Y condition indicates the male and X, that is the female. So ultimately the father, the gametes from the male, that decides the sex of the baby. Okay. Next, in the fertilization and implantation, next what you want to learn is the mitotic division. Here, just now I said about the mitotic division, right? So that mitotic division, that will start, where it will start after the zygote formation. Up to that, it is meiotic division. You know how that polar body, second polar body and ovum, everything, all those and the forms after meiosis. So that the chromosome number in those cells, n number of chromosomes. Okay, first for developing that male gamete or female gamete, whatever may be, first division, that just for multiplication. We have learned about 3 phases, right? First is multiplication, then growth, then maturation in both gametogenesis. So first that multiplication phase is always mitotic. Then comes the growth phase. In growth phase, all these meiotic divisions are taking place and their chromosome number is getting reduced from the diploid to haploid, right? Then here fusion got over and zygote is formed. Next, the mitotic division. Mitotic division again for increasing the cell number or for the growth. So the mitotic division starts at the zygote and that moves through the isthmus of the oviduct called cleavage. What is cleavage? Here you can see, here in ampulla, fertilization got over. Now that is zygote. So when it is moving, see here I have marked as A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, because the zygote should reach the, where it should reach for the growth? It will reach the uterus, right? In this part it will reach from the fallopian tube. Fertilization is in fallopian tube, but after that, when it is moving to the uterus, all this time growth is taking place. This is the growing stage. Okay, so that the mitotic division starts. In the zygote, the formed zygote, mitotic division will start. Means cleavage. Cleavage means division. Division of this zygote is taking place. Continuous cell division. So that it is moving through the isthmus. Which is that region? This region. Isthmus. From the ampulla, it is moving through the isthmus and it is reaching, landing in the uterus, right? So that is called as, that division is called as cleavage. Here you can see. This is the first one and second, then all these are cleavage stages. Okay. And it will move towards the uterus. And in that way, while moving towards the uterus, that will form structures like 2-cell stage, 4-cell stage, 8-cell, 16-cell, all these stages. It will go through all these stages. This is called as blastomeres. Okay, daughter cells. all these 16 cells stage 2 cell, from 2 cells it will form 4, again it will multiply and it will form, these 4 cells will become 8 cells, then 8 to 16, like that it will double the number of cells, daughter cells, and that is called as blastomere. What is blastomere? Blastomere means one of the cell that which is produced after the cleavage of zygote, right? Here cleavage or division of, here I said what is cleavage? That division. So that cleavage, after that cleavage, the cells are getting produced, right? The number of cells are increasing. So one of the cell that is called as blastomere. Here you can see blastomeres like from 2 to 4, 4 to 8, 8 to 16, like that it will double the number. That is called as blastomeres. Those cells are called as blastomeres. And the embryo which is with 8 to 16 blastomere, that is called as morula. Here you can see. What is morula? The embryo with 8 to 16 blastomeres, that is called as morula. What is morula? With 8 to 16 blastomeres. The embryo, the stage of that embryo means after this division, multiplication division or mitotic division, that embryo will be having 8 to 16 blastomeres or 16 cells. That stage is called as morula. Note down, important MCQ, all this cleavage, blastomere, morula, all these are important points. Then the morula continues to divide and that forms the blastocyst. Okay, morula, this again, here this division is not getting stopped in the morula stage. Again it is dividing because that should develop into a complete individual, right? So that will again develop, that embryo development is going on, but it is passing through all these stages. Got it? So blastocyst means that is a particular stage of mammalian embryo. Blastocyst. Okay, blastomere is different, blastocyst is different. Blastocyst is a different, it is a particular stage of a mammalian embryo. For mammals, this is a particular stage in that embryonic development. So blastocyst forms from a berry-like cluster, right? Here you can see it's like a cluster of berries. Berry-like cluster of cells, right? This is called as morula. I've already told this is morula. So from morula, this blastocyst forms. So a cavity, you can see a cavity which is appearing in the morula between inner cell mass and the developing layer. So there is an inner cell mass and the developing layer, right? See, here you can see there is an inner, this is the blastocyst, right? So here you can see a cavity and a developing inner cell mass and an outer layer also you can see. And this cavity, here you can see a very clear cavity you can see here. This cavity is filled with a fluid. Okay? What is the difference between this blastula and blastocyst and blastomere? Blastomere means the division, and each cell after cleavage, each cell is called as blastomere. But blastocyst means, don't get confused, blastocyst means that morula, it will continue the division stage and that will form a blastocyst. Blastocyst means there is a cavity and an outer layer and an inner layer of developing cells. Okay, this fluid filled cavity is there. This is blastocyst, and that each cell in that cleavage, that is called as blastomere. So the mitotic division starts as the zygote moves through the isthmus to the oviduct. Here, from isthmus, that zygote is moving to the oviduct, and that is called, all these stages, that is the cleavage. And finally, it is reaching the uterus and it is forming, which and all stages are there? 2 cells, 4 cells, then 4 will become 8, and the embryo with 8 to 16 blastomeres. How many cells will be there in that morula? 8 to 16 cells. That stage is called as morula. And that morula, that will continue the division and it will form the blastocyst. When it is moving towards the uterus, it will form the blastocyst. Okay. Here, this is the blastocyst. Then the blastomere in the blastocyst, blastomere in the blastocyst. Okay, this blastocyst is carrying blastomere. Blastomere is nothing but the cells, the dividing cells. Each cell is called as blastomere, right? So in the blastocyst, you can see blastomere, and they are arranged into an outer layer. Outer layer is called as trophoblast. You can see the trophoblast here, the outer layer, this single outer layer, that is called as trophoblast. And inner group of cells which is attached to the trophoblast, that is inner mass. This is the inner mass, right? This is the embryoblast. Trophoblast and embryoblast. Trophoblast means the outer layer, a group of cells that are arranged into outer layer, that is called as trophoblast, and the inner group of cells that are attached to the trophoblast. Here you can see the inner cell mass, and the trophoblast layer, then it is getting attached to the which layer? Endometrium. And the inner cell mass, here you can see this is the inner cell mass that will get differentiated, and that forms the embryo. Here this is the dividing cell. This is just like a covering, or this is getting attached. The trophoblast is getting attached to the endometrium, and here the inner cell mass will divide continuously, and that will form as the embryo. So after the attachment, this uterine cells that will divide rapidly, and that will cover the blastocyst. Okay. After attachment, just now I said this trophoblast layer will get attached to the endometrium, right? So after the attachment to the endometrium, that uterine cells divide very fast, and that covers the blastocyst. Okay. Then that blastocyst that will become embedded in the endometrium. That blastocyst then later it will be embedded in the endometrium of the uterus. So this is called implantation. We have learned fertilization, and this blastocyst becomes embedded in the endometrium. This is called as implantation, and this leads to the pregnancy. Okay, this is leading to the pregnancy. Then after implantation, now it is leading to the pregnancy. So after implantation, some finger-like projections will appear on the trophoblast. That is called as chorionic villi. So these are surrounded by the uterine tissue and maternal blood. So after implantation, some finger-like, now that is implanted in the, so the blastocyst. See, just now we explained. Is it clear? You have any confusion? The blastocyst is embedded in the endometrium, right? So that after that implantation, some kind of projection, some finger-like projections will appear. Where it will appear? On the trophoblast. That is called as chorionic villi. And these are surrounded by the uterine tissue and maternal blood, right? And this chorionic villi and uterine tissue becomes close, and that jointly form a structural and functional unit between developing embryo or fetus. So there is a joint work between chorionic villi and uterine tissue. Okay, from the in the tissue, that tissue of the uterus, and this chorionic villi that will join, and it will jointly form a structural and functional unit that together works. Hereafter that work, they'll form a unit. Okay, both will work as a single unit so that there will be a smooth developing of the embryo and the maternal body. That is called as placenta. The placenta. What is placenta? The joint unit of the chorionic villi and the uterine tissue. They will work jointly. They will work together and that forms the placenta. Placenta helps in the structural and functional development of embryo or fetus, development of an embryo. Okay. Then these placenta, hereafter we use the term placenta. Okay. After this we use the blastocyst and the single cellular stage, that is the blastomere, then that mass of cells, morula, from morula, then now the whole unit, hereafter the development, it is placental stage. Okay. The placenta facilitates the supply of oxygen. We'll explain the role of placenta. Placenta, what is the role of placenta? That helps in, because here that is the joint work of blood vessels. Here we have told already. Uterine tissues and the chorionic villi and uterine tissues, all this. So this facilitates the supply of oxygen. There is an oxygen supply that will facilitate the oxygen supply and nutrient supply to the embryo. For the developing embryo, this will provide oxygen and nutrients, and that will help in the removal of carbon dioxide. What it will remove? It will remove in the, with the help of this placenta, that will remove the carbon dioxide and all waste material from the developing embryo. Right? So this developing embryo need oxygen, nutrients, and at the same time that should remove the carbon dioxide and all those excretory materials, right? So which is helping, placenta is helping for all these processes. So the placenta, which is connected to the embryo, how it is connected or through which it is getting connected? Through the umbilical cord. Umbilical cord that helps the transport of substances to the embryo and from the embryo, right? We have told the placenta facilitates the supply of oxygen, then removal of carbon dioxide, then supply of nutrients and removal of excretory waste, right? Excretory materials. So all these are with the help of umbilical cord. Okay. Then this placenta, that is also acting as endocrine tissue, and there also some hormonal changes are happening. So which are all the hormones? Several hormones it is producing. Chorionic gonadotropin, then that is HCG, then human placental lactogen, HPL. Chorionic gonadotropin, human placental lactogen. Note down that placenta, which and all the hormones in this stage, placenta stage, HCG, then HPL, human placental lactogen. Then estrogen is there, progesterone is there. All these four hormones, they are having main roles in the placental stage. And in the later phase, in the future or the upcoming phases of pregnancy, a hormone, which is that hormone that is called as relaxin, which is that hormone, relaxin hormone. This is also secreted by ovary. So first, in the first stage, HCG, that means chorionic gonadotropin, then human placental lactogen, then estrogen, progesterone. In the first stages, these four hormones will be present. And in the later phases of pregnancy, relaxin, one more hormone will be added to this relaxin, that is also secreted by the ovary. Then HCG, what is HCG? The chorionic gonadotropin, then human placental lactogen and relaxin. These are produced in the woman only during the pregnancy period. So all these three we can see only during pregnancy period. In a woman, only these three hormones, we can see so many hormones, but these particular hormones will be produced only during pregnancy period. Okay. Then after implantation, now that is our implantation over, now pregnancy and embryonic development. We are learning about embryonic development. So immediately after that implantation, that inner cell mass, I told there is a outer layer, then inner cell mass. This inner cell mass that will form an outer layer called ectoderm. Okay. So from the inner cell mass, again, inner cell mass is the differentiating cells or the dividing cells. Okay. From that inner cell mass, again, the cells are getting differentiated. Okay. They are forming different groups. There first, that outer layer that is called as ectoderm. Then there is an inner layer called endoderm. And in between these two layers, another layer appears that is called as mesoderm. Okay. Here from the developing inner cell mass, you can see ectoderm, the outer layer, and mesoderm. In between the endoderm and ectoderm, you can see one more layer that is mesoderm. And endoderm, this is the innermost layer. Okay. So this ectoderm that forms the exoskeleton. In future, this will divide and develop into a exoskeleton. Then mesoderm, from the mesoderm, all these organs are formed from the mesoderm. Note down, these are important MCQ questions. From ectoderm, exoskeleton is formed. From mesoderm, all organs. Then endoderm, that forms the inner lining of organs. Endoderm forms the inner lining of organs. So the mesoderm appears between ectoderm and endoderm. And these three layers that will give rise to all tissues, and finally that will form the organs in the adults. So the inner mass contains some cells that are called stem cells. These stem cells have the capacity to give rise to all the tissues and organs. Inner layer, right? That mass of cells that have some cells called stem cells. These stem cells have the potency or the capacity to form the tissues and organs. Okay. Here you can see the blastocoele, then blastula. Here you can see the mesoderm, then ectoderm, outer layer, and this is the endoderm. Here again blastophore. This just to make it clear, I gave this picture so that there are three layers. Okay. Next, and this. So in human beings, after 1 month of pregnancy, the embryo heart is formed. Okay. When the heart formation is taking place, after 1 month, heart will form. So the first sign of that growing fetus that can be noticed. So when we are going for a checkup or something, doctors will check the heartbeat. Okay. So that the heart sound is checked through the stethoscope. So with the help of that heartbeat, they will check the heartbeat of the growing fetus. Okay. The growing fetus, a healthy growing fetus will have, after 1 month of pregnancy, that will form the heart, and the heartbeat is checked carefully. Okay. So by the end of the 2nd month, that fetus will develop limbs and digits. So the 2nd month, limbs and digits will be formed, and by the end of 12 weeks, that means, see, that is calculated as trimesters. Okay. First trimester, 2nd trimester, like that we will calculate. So by the end of 12 weeks, okay, 12 weeks, most of the main organs or organ system that will develop, like external limbs and external genitalian organs, this and all will be well developed by the end of 12 weeks. So first movements of the fetus and appearance of the hair on the head are observed in the 5th month. During the 5th month, we can see the movement of this fetus the appearance of hair on the head. This we can see during 5th month. Okay, and by the end of 24 weeks, that means at the end of 2nd trimester, here 1st trimester means 12 weeks, 24 means 2nd trimester will get over. So the body will be covered with fine hair, body hair, and the eyelid is separate, and eyelashes also will be formed after 2nd trimester. Okay, so by the end of 9 months of pregnancy, the fetus will be developed fully, and that will be ready for a delivery. Okay, so after 1 month, heart will be formed, and in the 2nd month and all, we can record the heartbeat of that growing fetus, and in the 2nd month, that fetus will develop limbs and digits and all, and by the end of the 12th week or by the 1st trimester, organ system will develop, then movement and all in the 5th month, and by the end of the 2nd trimester, what and all will be formed? Body is covered with fine hair, then eyelid will be separate, and eyelashes also will be formed after 24 weeks. Okay, and by the end of 9 months, that baby or the fetus will be fully grown up and it will be ready for delivery. Got it? Here you can see different stages. See, up to delivery, it will be in a straight position like this. See, by the time of delivery, it will turn that embryo or the fetus will turn the, not embryo, this is a fetus will turn the head portion towards down, because head will come out, right? First head portion will come out. So that will turn the position like this during delivery time. So average duration of human pregnancy is about 9 months, which is called as the gestation period. So the human gestation period is around 9 months. It depends upon the organism. From organism to organism, this gestation period varies, right? So the contraction of the uterus at the end of the pregnancy. At the end of the pregnancy, the contraction of the uterus is taking place, and that forms the expulsion, or the fetus will come out, the expulsion of the fetus. So that process, that is called as parturition, the childbirth or parturition, right? So the parturition is induced by so many neurons or neuroendocrine mechanism. That is a neuroendocrine mechanism. It's a very complex process, parturition. So that is a neuroendocrine mechanism. And the signals for this parturition that originates from the fully developed fetus and the placenta. Okay, so the uterine contraction will happen during the childbirth or parturition, that is called as fetal ejection reflex. The signals for parturition originates from the fetus. The fetus is completely developed means it will form some kind of signals for parturition, and the uterine contraction of this uterine, it is uterus, it is called as fetal ejection reflex. The signals for that is called as fetal ejection reflex. Next, parturition and lactation. So that fetal ejection reflex, that triggers the release of oxytocin from the maternal pituitary gland, right? From the mother's pituitary gland, release of oxytocin is taking place, right? So the oxytocin which is released, that will act on the uterine muscles. Where it will work? It will work on the uterine muscles, and that will cause strong uterine contraction because the fetus is inside. So the uterine should contract. The contraction of uterine should take place, or uterus should take place, so that the fetal ejection then only the fetal ejection will occur. So which stimulates the further secretion of oxytocin. Okay, so that stimulatory reflex between the uterine contraction and the oxytocin secretion, that continuous secretion or the oxytocin secretion, that will result in the stronger contraction, that makes the contraction more stronger. Okay, the uterine contraction that is becoming more when that more oxytocin is getting released, or continuous release of secretion of this oxytocin, that will make the stronger contractions. So this leads to the expulsion of baby from the uterus. That baby can come out through the birth canal. This is called as parturition. So soon after that delivery, the placenta, along with that baby, the placenta also will come out of the uterus, because after the fetal ejection, there is no role for the placenta. It's just for the growth of that baby, right? So the sometimes doctors will inject oxytocin. They'll give some kind of injection to induce the labor pain and delivery. That's why they are injecting the oxytocin to induce the pain. So the oxytocin is released by the posterior pituitary, and that will form the fetal ejection reflex. Okay, so oxytocin that induces strong uterine contraction at the time of parturition. That's why oxytocin injection is given by doctors. Sometimes when that fetal ejection reflex is not working in a proper way, they'll give oxytocin as an injection. Okay, then what is the role of mammary gland? We have already discussed while learning about the structure of mammary gland. So the mammary, after birth, that child or that baby need nutrition. So there comes the role of the mammary glands. So the mammary glands of the female, that will undergo differentiation during pregnancy period, and that will start producing milk. At the end of pregnancy period, that milk formation will start. Okay, the differentiation of mammary gland will take place during the pregnancy period, and at the end of pregnancy period, it will come into such a stage that can produce milk. That is called as lactation period. So this helps the mother to feed that newborn. So for what this lactation helps? To feed the newborn. That mother will feed the newborn. So that milk which is produced during this first few days, that is called as colostrum. That is having so many antibodies, and that antibodies are essential or very important for the developing babies. Okay, so that during the initial period of that growth of that baby, doctors will only recommend breastfeeding. Okay, minimum up to 4 months they'll recommend breastfeeding. So first few days it is very important, because that colostrum, which is the first milk, that is having so many antibodies, which is very important for the development of resistance for the newborn babies. Okay, so that is about lactation. That's all. So is it clear? Our third chapter got over. We have already gone through all topics. Do you have any doubts? Guna Selvi, right? Is it clear? Do you have any doubt in this? Hope everything is clear. Next, you can go through MCQs. I'll send the MCQs so that each and every concept will be clear for you people. Just read all these portions. Thank you. Thank you so much.